Good morning, first graders. We are into our last 2 weeks of first grade. Can you believe it? So make sure that you are trying to get caught up on all of your work on Google Classroom, any assignments that you might be missing, anything that you might really need to get done, and make sure each day you're watching your lesson video and you are focused on what you are supposed to be doing each and every day. So that way you don't fall behind, and when that last day of school hits, you have nothing else to do but enjoy yourself for the summer, okay? All right, so today we are going to talk about our vocabulary and we are going to read our weekly story. So this week we are starting a whole new unit, and you're going to kind of see that it's similar to last week and the week before when we're talking about art and engineering and creativity. So creating things, right? So this has a lot to do with science and engineering, creating things from other materials, okay? And I want you to start thinking about that as we get deeper into our weekly topic this week, okay? So before we start our story, we're going to introduce our vocabulary words so that when you see them, you recognize them and you know them. And we'll stop during the story and we'll read and discuss our words again, okay? So let's look at our words here. Miss Cheslock's going to get smaller. All right. So we have 3 columns. Columns go up and down, right? We have the word, we have the part of speech, which means is it an adjective, noun, verb, and then we have the pronunciation, how you say it, okay? So number 1, put your finger on number 1 here on your screen. That is jazz, okay? Jazz is a type of music. The word jazz, as you slide on over on that pink line, is a noun. What is a noun? Person, place, or thing. Very good. So jazz is a type of music. Good. Number 2, suburb. That is also a noun, a person, place, or thing. A suburb is a smaller area of a bigger city. So we might all live in Detroit, but you probably live in a suburb of Detroit. You don't live in a big, huge building right by all of those skyscrapers, right? You live in a suburb, a smaller neighborhood close to the big city. Nice. Let's look at number 3, which is also a noun. 3 nouns in a row. 3 is miles. Miles, and that's a person, place, or a thing. Miles is a measurement of distance, okay? So how short or how long, but a mile is a pretty long distance. You would want to drive in your car for a mile, or maybe you can run 1 mile, okay? Number 4, plunk, plunk, and that is also a noun, person, place, or thing. So plunk to me means something you drop. So maybe you plunk something in. But we can read in our story and see how they use it. We might not be sure. So that's why we need to clarify as we read. So we'll see this word today and see if that's what it means. But it is a thing, so it's not an action, so it's not dropping something. We'll have to find out that one as we read. Number 5 is funny, and that's an adjective. What do adjectives do? Adjectives describe, right? So, funny. That means something that makes you laugh, right? And that's describing someone. You can describe someone as funny. You could describe a movie as funny. Nice. Let's move on to our second set of vocabulary words. We have 10 today. So on this page, we learned jazz, type of music, suburb, smaller area where you might live in a big city. 3 is miles, a distance, okay, pretty long distance. 4 is plunk, that one's going to be the one we're going to hunt for today. That's your secret mission. Number 5 is funny, something that makes you laugh. Let's see what we have next. Next, we have 6, which is performed. Performed. And that is a verb. What's a verb? A verb is an action word. So performed means to put on for someone. So you could perform. We used to do reader's theater in Mrs. Cheslock's class, where you would perform how you wanted to act out one of our vocabulary words. You might go to a play and see someone perform being a new character, right? So to kind of put on a show for someone, to perform. And they have ed at the back, at the end of the word, so that means it's past tense, it already happened. So I went to a play and I saw Peter Pan performed. Number 7 is ballad. Ballad. And ballad is like a beautiful, strong song, and it is a noun. So a song is a thing, right? Person, place, or thing. Ballad is a song. Usually a song with a lot of strong meaning. Ballad. We have number 8, flew. Flew. And it is a verb. A verb is the action word, right? Flew is the past tense of fly. We wouldn't say, look at all those birds I saw yesterday. They flied across the sky. Okay? You would say, I saw a bunch of birds yesterday. They flew across the sky. Past tense of fly, flew. So, flew just means to soar across the sky. You need some wings for that, right? Or maybe you flew in a plane to go on a vacation. Number 9, audience. Audience, and that is a noun, which is a person, place, or thing. Audience is a group of people watching someone do something else. So if you go to a movie, you are in the audience. Maybe you're in the audience watching someone perform, like our number 6 word up there. Yes, very good. And number 10 is strummed. Strummed. Again, there's that ed at the end, so you know it is past tense. Strummed. To strum on a guitar. Now, I think we watched Coco in class, and in that movie, he strums on his guitar, right? It is an action that means to press down with pressure on some strings, okay? So in order to play the guitar, you need to strum your guitar, kind of to run your fingers across the strings. Strum, everyone strum their imaginary guitar right now. Yeah, good job. And that is a verb, it is an action. Very good. All right, so I think we are all warmed up. We're all ready to go. We have all of our words. Let's go over this card one more time before we start our story. Number 6, performed. To act out, right? It's past tense because we have ed. Number 7, ballad. Powerful song. Number 8, flew. Past tense of fly. Number 9, audience. People that watch someone do something else. And 10, strummed. Yes, to run your fingers over something, make a noise. Usually it has to do with an instrument. Good, very good. I think we're ready. What do you guys think? Yeah? All right, and then our kind of challenge today is to look for number 4 right here, plunk, and figure out what that means. Plunk, because we have to use our context clues inside the text sometimes to help us figure out what words mean, okay? So, our story today is called Start Up the Band. So we actually heard quite a few words that might make sense with why this is our story today. I heard words like strummed, perform, audience, and that kind of makes me click in my head and say, huh, this might have to do with somebody putting on a show, right? I'm going to do something funny. Does it look like I'm her head now? Yeah, so this might have to do with using your context clues. Maybe some kids putting on a show. Now, let's talk about our genre. Our genre here is historical fiction. So look in our red and white box up in that corner. Red and white box. The genre is historical fiction, okay? This means, we've read a couple historical fiction stories before, but this means that this is a story from history that is true, but they kind of made it a fiction story. So it didn't exactly happen this way, but it is something that happened. So they're kind of taking something that happened in history and adding a little bit to it to make it more fun to read. So as we read, we'll be able to make that a little bit more clear. Our essential question is, how can music bring people together? So I want you to think about the last time you listened to music. What did you listen to? Who were you listening with? Did they like the same music that you were listening to, or did they want to change it? Okay, I want you to think about these things today as we read. So now that our brain is all warmed up, we are ready to read our story. I need your ultimate attention. Today, for your reading superpowers, I would like you to think about asking questions while you read and visualizing. Okay, visualizing is making that movie in your head. Very good. Let's read.
Genre: historical fiction. Essential question: how can music bring people together? Start Up the Band by Eve Tonkin. Illustrated by Maria Monaskillo.
Check out our heading first here.
Chapter 1: The Jazz Band. Mama is a singer. She sings about good times and bad times. She sings about happiness and sadness. Every night she sings to me. I love listening to her amazing voice.
Dress.
Mama used to sing in a band. She sang at a jazz club in Chicago. At bedtime, she tells me stories about it. When she sang, she wore a white flower behind her ear and a long white dress. She sang while Daddy played the trumpet.
Wow. So what did she wear behind her ear? Back in your text for the word ear, wore. She wore a white flower behind her ear, yes. And who played the trumpet? Her dad. Here's our word, jazz club.
Jazz, a type of American music with lots of rhythm. We enjoyed the jazz music at the parade. Jazz.
Nice. So she sang in a jazz club. And she looked beautiful.
But then came the hard years when there were no jobs. People were hungry. Mama calls that time the Depression. Most people did not have money for music, so all of us, except Daddy, went to live with Grandma and Grandpa.
So, remember I told you this story was historical fiction. There really was a time called the Depression where people didn't have much money and it was really hard for people to survive. So, without much money, they didn't have much food, they couldn't go do fun things like go to the movies and go out to dinner and go to jazz clubs to listen to music because they didn't have the money to do so. So that part of the story is true.
Daddy moved to a smaller home in a suburb of Chicago. He still plays in a band. He visits us often, but he always has to go back to work. I miss him.
Yeah. And this is a good part to maybe make a connection. So I can make a connection because my dad lived far away from us for a while. And I missed him. Okay. And it says Daddy moved to a smaller home in a suburb of Chicago.
Suburb, a town on the edge of a larger city. The cars cross the bridge from the city to get to the suburb. Suburb.
Chapter 2: Time to Sing Again. One night I started crying when Mama was singing me to sleep. "Why are you crying?" Mama asked. "I want to be a singer like you, Mama. I want to play in a band at the 4th of July show, but my teacher says that we can't start a band at school." "Why not?" Mama asked. "There is no money to buy instruments, and no one can lead the band." Mama thought for a moment. "Let's start our own band," she said.
Wow. So why was the little girl sad? Why was she sad? You can say it out loud. I might not be able to hear you, but I can feel it if you answer me. She was very sad because she wanted to be a singer, but at school they said they didn't have the money to have a band and have instruments. So what was Mama's idea? It's at the end of the second paragraph here. Mama's idea was to start their own band. So I wonder how they're going to do that. Take a moment, boys and girls, and I want you to put your finger on the heading here of your story, the heading. Yes, it's going to tell us what it's mostly about. As we get older and read more, books are going to have chapters. So this is chapter 2, but it is called something. So the chapter is named, which is also kind of just like the heading. Time to sing again. So that must mean that maybe Mama and the little girl will have a chance to sing again.
The next morning, I asked Mama how we would start up a band. We will ask our neighbors and friends to help out, she said. May I ask my friends from school to join too? I asked. Of course. Everyone is welcome in our band, she replied.
It's very nice, isn't it?
Will people really come to listen to us? I asked. People came from miles around to see Daddy and me play in our band, Mama told me. Everyone loves music. It really brings people together. You'll see.
Wow. So who are they going to invite to help with the band? Yeah, it says here, we will ask our neighbors and friends, and she said friends from school, and people from miles around are going to come to listen to them, and that's how it was. So they're going to see if it's the same. Let's look at the word miles.
Miles. Plural form of mile. A specific unit of distance, but is used here as a great distance. We will travel 85 miles from where we are to get to Denver. Miles.
Good. I see a word that we've been looking for. Does anyone else see it?
Chapter 3. Let's play. That day, I asked my friends at school if they wanted to join our band. They all said yes. When we got home, Mama had set up some instruments. Our neighbor, Mr. Basil, was warming up on his double bass. Plunk, plunk.
Plunk. A word that both describes and sounds like when your fingers pull on the string of a musical instrument. The strings of the harp make a plunk when the musician pulls them. Plunk.
So, this is almost like an onomatopoeia word. And I know where's Zanili. Zanili, you are my onomatopoeia girl. In class, you would always call out the words that sounded like a sound. So, plunk is the pulling of the string that Mr. Basil was doing on his bass. So, and I can kind of assume one of these men back here is Mr. Basil, right? So he's pulling on the strings. Plunk, plunk.
Mama handed my friends and me some sheets of paper with words and music notes printed on them. These are the songs we will sing, she said. Then Grandpa picked up a guitar. Let's play, he said.
How exciting. I can visualize right now all the excitement in the room with all these instruments. Look how happy the kids look. Now I can also clarify who is in the green overalls in the back in the illustration. Grandpa. And it says Grandpa picked up a guitar. So I can clarify that that man is Grandpa because he looks a little bit older, which means the man in the yellow shirt is Mr. Basil, who's going to be plunk, plunk, plunking on his bass guitar.
The song sounded funny at first, but it sounded better as we kept going. My friends and I enjoyed learning something new together. It sure is fun playing in a band again, Mr. Basil said. I've missed making good music.
The song sounded funny at first, but it sounded better as they kept going.
Funny, odd, or strange. Danny and Ben wore funny glasses to school picture day. Funny.
So why do you think it might have sounded funny at first? Maybe because they were learning. It was just a bunch of sounds at first. I can visualize that too, hearing everybody play an instrument and singing. Kind of like when we would practice for our performances at MLK, right? At first it never sounded so good, but then by the end, oof, so good.
Then Grandma walked in with a boy from a nearby town. This is Ron, she told us. He heard about the band and wants to play drums. Welcome, Ron, said Mama. Come and show us what you can do. She smiled at me. I told you everyone loves music.
Good. So we met a new character on this page. Who is he? Ron, very good. And what did Ron want to do in the band? Play drums.
Chapter 4, The 4th of July Show. I loved band practice. At our last one, before the 4th of July show, we performed Ballad for Americans. The song says that all kinds of people make up the United States. The song says that you children will do great things in the future, Mama told us. Suddenly, the front door flew open. It was Daddy. Everyone began cheering. I gave him a big hug. You are just in time to play with us at our show, I told him.
Wow. I can imagine how excited they must have been to see Daddy, right? We have a couple words on this page. The last one before their big 4th of July show that they were so excited about, they performed Ballad for Americans. So remember, performed was one of our vocabulary words.
Performed. A form of the verb perform, to entertain people. The marching band performed during halftime.
Performed.
Performed.
Make sure you're repeating the word after you hear it said. The song they performed was Ballad for Americans. Ballad.
Ballad. A slow type of song. Only the violinist played during the ballad. Ballad.
A slow, meaningful type of song. And the last one, suddenly the door flew open.
Flew. A form of the verb fly, to move quickly. The hawk flew alone in the sky. Flew.
Ooh, alone in the sky. Now I can make a connection to that because I actually saw a hawk that was flying the other day. It flew across the sky as well. Ooh, this looks fun.
On Independence Day, there were lots of people in the audience. We played our hearts out. Mama, my friends, and I sang. Daddy played the trumpet. Ron banged the drums. Grandpa strummed the guitar. Mr. Basil plucked the bass. At the end of the song, everyone was silent. They just stared at us.
Oh my gosh, I wonder if that's a good thing.
Then, people in the audience jumped to their feet, clapping and cheering. Some whistled and waved their hats in the air. We all took a bow. Mama was right. Everyone loves music.
So based on their response, do you think they liked what they listened to? Yes, the audience seemed like they really enjoyed it.
Audience. A group of people who are watching or listening to something being performed. The audience laughed at the movie. Audience.
And one more word on this page. Ron banged the drums and Grandpa strummed the guitar.
Strummed. A form of the verb strum, To play the strings of a musical instrument. I strummed the strings of the guitar. Strummed.
Good. And again, we have that ed there, so that's that past tense. Very good. All right, boys and girls, we finished our story today, and I happen to really, really like that story a lot because it talks about a time when maybe there weren't many things to do, okay? And music was one of those things that you really have to get creative with, okay? So, kind of like now, sometimes we can't go out and do the things that we wanted to do, so find something to be creative with. You can make a really good connection to this story today, all right? All right, now's your time to pause me if you need to. That really looked paused, didn't it? And you are going to complete your vocabulary work for this story today. If there's anything you don't understand or you need the word repeated, you can go back in this video and rewind it and do it from there. All right, so you are going to be getting your Orange Skills Practice book, and you are going to be on 253. 200s, 5 10s, and 3 1s. It looks like these. Once you get to this page, you are going to see all of those words that we learned and got to know so well today. Like strummed, suburb, funny, miles, all of those. So when you are there, open to that page and reread the words. You need some help? Go for it. Okay, ask the person next to you or do your best to stretch them out. You know how to stretch. Stop at those vowels. Blend. Okay? Number 1 we will do together. Number 1, we heard the blank of the banjo strings. We heard the blank of the banjo strings. So banjo is a type of instrument. So which word could go there? They heard the what? Audience? No. Flew? Jazz? Performed? Strummed? Ballad? Funny? Miles? Plunk? Or suburb? What do you think might go there? What is the only sound word we had today? Plunk. We heard the plunk of the banjo strings. Plunk. So number 1 is plunk. I better see a nice tall L, and I better see a nice tall K with that P going underneath the line. Just like Mr. Basil plunked his bass. It's actually right under me right here. Nice. Okay. Nice. Very good. So make sure you're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 to practice. That's going to warm up your brain for your next page. When you turn that page, you're going to review those vocabulary words and write me 4 sentences. I have to tell you, boys and girls, this is my favorite page of the week because I get to see how creative you were with all of those sentences and your words. Some of you are even amazing at getting 2 words in 1 sentence. Can you believe it? Yes. So, I would like to do one with you. I'm going to choose 2 words and I'm going to write them. So, let's see. What could I do? I'm going to write something I wish I was doing. And you have 2 full lines. A lot of you lately when I've been checking work have not been following the rules of sentences. Sentences need 3 things: capital, finger space, ending mark. If you don't have those things, that's not a sentence. Unacceptable to go to 2nd grade without knowing how to write a correct sentence. So make sure your sentences have all of those things. I'm going to write I wish I, don't forget if you have an I, it has to be capitalized. Baby eyes can't stand alone. I wish I was in the audience watching jazz. Oof. So I use 2 words, jazz an audience. I wish I was in the audience watching jazz. Watching and listening, right? Good. So I've used 2 words. Do you have to use 2? No. But I encourage you to try, okay? Do your best work today. Remember, 253 and 254, and I will put it below. And I'm also going to put some jazz music, a link to some jazz music. We actually used to listen to a lot of jazz music in class as we were working. So you've heard it before, that's for sure. Lots of instruments, lots of energy, really good type of music, okay? And I encourage Mom and Dad to maybe put some on for you at home today. There is a jazz music radio station. All right, so I will see all of you soon. Have a wonderful day. Get outside, get some exercise, drink lots of water if it's warm. Bye.